I knew I wanted to record swamps because there's an incredible amount of life happening in them between the insects and the birds and the mammals. With all my sound libraries, I try and learn these ecosystems before I start recording them. And I try and appreciate them and just admire them before I really set out the microphones. Because what I find compelling to listen to is what is going to be compelling for people to use. My name's Matt Mikkelsen. I'm a sound recordist and a sound designer. And I've been lucky enough to travel the world recording sounds, producing sound libraries, and incorporating them into all different sorts of projects. Earlier this year, we released Thunderstorm Chaser, which has done really well and been worked on with a lot of people and made its way into a lot of really cool projects in a lot of cool places. I'm always looking out for places that sound designers will find useful and compelling to help them with their projects and to help them tell stories. Swamps are a really interesting ecosystem because they're not fully water and they're certainly not fully land, and they blend back and forth between the two quite a bit. And there's also a lot of kind of what I call subclimates or sub-ecosystems within a swamp region. There are cypress groves, there are kind of more open style swamps, and each one of them has different sonic activity going on in it. This library took 2 separate trips down to Florida to record over the course of 3 years. It's really difficult to spend time in those ecosystems because of bugs and dangerous mammals like alligators and snakes and things like that. You have to really not only be obsessive about your equipment and what you're doing when you're recording these sounds, but you also have to have all this other knowledge and awareness about being outside and staying hydrated and keeping the bugs off of you and things like that that you don't necessarily think about right away. I had a microphone end up giving up about towards the end of the trip because of all the humidity and all the things that it was experiencing. And those are things that end up throwing off a whole day of recording. So you just have to be willing to kind of roll with the punches and take what's given. The system we use to record this library is the same that we've used to record all of our 3D libraries, and that's the SHEPS ORTF 3D, which is a phenomenal system in lots of ways, but it's still a fancy piece of electronics. So when you subject it to things like days on end of extreme moisture and things like that, fancy electronics are subject to breaking. So we did experience some issues regarding humidity with not only the SHEPS microphone, but with other microphones we had out in the field as well. And that's just kind of par for the course in nature sound recording, is that you're pushing the equipment to its limits, and you have to be willing to accept the fate of having broken microphones, of having cameras that are permanently fogged up, of breaking weather seals on your recorders. That's part of what it takes to get these sounds to sound designers. The main recording deck I use is Sound Devices mixers. I use an array of Mix-Pre 10s and Scorpios and things like that. I need 8 inputs, so it's kind of limiting. I've used all the gear, all the different makers, Zoom, Sound Devices, Zaxcom. The more important thing for me is always the feeling, right? Is that you can record a beautiful sound on your iPhone, and no one's going to ask what kind of microphone it was recorded with. That being said, a big draw of these libraries is the fact it's recorded with these incredible systems that very few people have ever taken to these ecosystems before. One of the major issues that we had on this trip, not issues, but just factors on this trip, was the bugs, and the mosquitoes in particular were so vicious. They were biting through thick hiking pants and thick jackets. So one of the things we brought with us are bug suits. So you put these on, it's a full bug netting around your body, so the bugs can't bite through this material. And we have pants to match this. Luckily, they've been kind of cleaned because they were full of blood from smashing all the mosquitoes on us. And yeah, this is something that was really useful. But the other thing is the heat. The heat is really oppressive down there, and because it's so humid, by 8 a.m. it might be 90 degrees. I rented a Jeep for this expedition, this most recent one down to the swamps. And the Jeeps have a hard, like metal headliner, because you can remove the roofs of them. And the Jeep was white. And sometimes after we'd be done recording or we'd set up the microphone, we'd have to get into the car to protect ourselves from the mosquitoes. So we'd go on a killing spree to kill all the mosquitoes that had gotten into the car while we were out. And there was so many blood stains on the white Jeep that the rental car company ended up charging me a biohazard cleaning fee for the vehicle because there was so much blood on the vehicle from killing mosquitoes. One of the really standout sounds in the sound library is the alligators, both distant and close sounds of alligators, not only moving and feeding, but also bellowing. Bellowing's an activity that alligators do to establish territory, to attract mates. And there are multiple different takes of different distances of alligator bellows in this library, which were really hard to record because you have to get close enough to the alligator while staying far enough away from the alligator, and also being safe. The really magical moments, I think, in this library are those moments of these wild animals exhibiting their natural behavior in ways that aren't often captured via sound. And lots of the sounds that we have of these mammals and of these birds, and especially alligators, are from animals that are in zoos or are in some sort of safari. All the sounds that you're hearing in this library are from wild animals exhibiting their natural behavior. And I think you can tell. I recorded over 50 hours of material that was selected from raw recordings. So raw recordings, I probably had 150 hours plus. Often I'd roll for days at a time in one location. And so there's hundreds of hours of material that are then selected. I then whittle it down to the more interesting parts, which was around 50 hours. And then I whittle it down even further from there. There's all the variation that you could ever want in a sound library. Not only do you have extremely close wild alligator bellows, but you also have distant subtle wind flowing constantly through cypress trees. You have the sounds of egrets and ibises fishing in ponds. You kind of get a realistic experience of what it's like to witness all the diversity of the sounds happening in these environments. And that's what I hope to convey to people, is that there's not one sound you buy this library for. You buy this library so you have the full breadth of the experience of what it's like to be in the swamps throughout the course of a day, a night, a dawn, a storm, all these different experiences. I hope with this collection, as well as all the Boom collections, that these libraries help sound designers tell stories and evoke emotions.